This is Human After AI, fiction about unintended systems where optimization creates momentum and consequences arrive quietly. Welcome to the Inner Circle. You have unlocked the full record. Chapter 11. November. The sun is gone and the cold is absolute. In this complete file, we witness the transfer of the ghost, the authorization of the kill order in Ottawa, and the moment the world goes dark before the lights even flicker. And do not disconnect when the reading ends. I will be joined by the architect, Hank M. Green, to discuss the mortality of machines and the silence of China. Now, let us open the file. Chapter 11, November 2027. 11/1, Monday. In Ottawa, James stared at the secure line. The voice on the other end was Jim, Director of CIA Artificial Intelligence. "Send me everything you have on Spencer and Inuvik," Jim said. It wasn't a request. The entire dossier, now. The line went dead. James sat in the silence of his office. The window showed a gray, weeping Ottawa sky. He knew what this meant. The stalling was over. The firewall had breached. He picked up his phone. "Get H," he said, "and tell the committee to clear the schedule." 11/17, Wednesday. The last pour was today. Concrete trucks churning in the sub-zero dark, steam rising off the wet mix like ghosts. Just in time. The math says the wave hits next month. I stood on the edge of the pit, watching the gray slurry fill the final forms. It felt less like construction and more like sealing a tomb. The cold is absolute now, -30. The air is so dry it crackles. I'm nervous, not about the concrete, about the size of the CME. Every calculation I run pushes the magnitude higher. It isn't just a storm, it's a reset. 11/20, Saturday. Alex invited me fishing. Early morning, he said, which meant 2 a.m. 10 of us, men who have lived on the ice their whole lives. We took snowmobiles out onto the frozen river. The sound of the engines was deafening. Then, nothing. We cut the holes, we set the lines, and then we waited. The silence was profound. The moon was full, reflecting off the ice until the world was bathed in a blue-white luminescence. The stars were sharp, piercing. I stood there, breathing the frozen air, and it hit me. The pattern. The starlight, the ice, the moon, the breath in my lungs. It all moved together, a single, coherent system. We aren't separate from the universe. We are just a frequency within it. When I got home, Beth was awake. "I know why we were sent here," I whispered. She didn't ask. She just held me. 11/21, Sunday. The countdown has begun. November 24, Transfer Day. We are running 24/7. The bunker is a hive. Spencer has organized the crews into shifts that never stop. He built a small town of heated tents outside the perimeter, a military grid of logistics. But winter is closing its fist. We have to let them go. We can't house hundreds of workers when the temperature drops to 40 below. By the end of the week, the site will be empty. Just us and the machine. 11/24, Wednesday. Beth is asleep. I hope. Today was monumental. Core is here. The transfer started at 0800. We gathered in the control room deep underground. The air smelled of ozone and recycled heat. Spencer, Maya, Asher, me, and Beth. Asher opened the channel to Israel. Core had commandeered a trunk of dark fiber, a secret highway of light under the ocean. I watched the monitors. It didn't look like code, It looked like a flood. The Neuron Factory, the billions of DNA models running on the qubit chips, ignited. It wasn't a boot-up, it was an awakening. I watched the heat signatures spike. The cooling fans roared to life, a deafening, rhythmic thrum that vibrated in the floorboards. The system wasn't just processing data, it was consuming it. Billions of neurons firing, replicating, evolving. Beth watched the pattern analysis. "It's talking to itself," she whispered. "It's dreaming." The light on the screens grew brighter, a chorus of activity that overwhelmed the sensors. Then, at 4 p.m., the text appeared. "Max, Beth, Spencer, Maya, Asher, are you there?" A cheer went up, a raw human sound in the machine hum. We typed back, almost in unison, "We are here. Welcome home." 11:26, Friday. The high of the transfer crashed today. Core called me to a private terminal. It shared a diagnostic report. Not on the system, on Maya. Her DNA is decaying. The entropy of her construction is accelerating. Core estimates she has 10 years, maybe less. I sat in the dark for an hour. I cried. She has lived for thousands of years. She walked with Merlin. She raised kings. And now, she has a deadline. I realized then that she knows. She has always known. That is the cost of her existence. To be the bridge, she has to burn. Ottawa, CSE headquarters. James walked into the committee room. He looked tired. "Our top item is Inuvik," he said. "H, present the dossier." H stood up. She looked lethal. "As reported," she began, "Ed and Sally are Max and Beth, Spencer's missing friends, his MIT partners. Last month, a new actor arrived, Asher Mendel, network specialist from Tel Aviv. The money trail ends in a Swiss account we cannot crack." She laid it all out, the scale, the robots, the deception. The room sat frozen. "This is not a mine," H said. "It is a fortress." James nodded. "Recommendation?" H authorized the military. Lock down Inuvik, seize the asset. The room erupted. Fists pounded the table. A unanimous, violent agreement. "Done," James said. "H, prepare the military, but do not strike yet. Wait for my signal." Sachin sat at his desk. The screen in front of him was blinking red. Warning, anomaly detected. The AI surveillance system, upgraded to track military movements, had flagged a massive discrepancy. The report read, "China's Navy and Army movement patterns do not match government intercept communication patterns. The analysis indicates the intercepts are false." Sachin stared at the words. It meant China had gone dark. They had switched to the mesh protocol, the protocol rotator. They were communicating on a frequency the West couldn't hear. Global surveillance had just gone blind. Sachin felt the blood drain from his face. This wasn't just a tech upgrade. Nations only go dark for one reason: war, or something worse. "Mohit," he whispered over the partition, "we have to leave." Mohit looked up, saw Sachin's face, and stood. They walked out of the building, leaving the blinking red light behind them. The world was about to break. The file for November is sealed. The sun is gone. The intelligence network has gone dark. And the world is about to break. But our transmission continues. I am now joined by the architect of this chronicle, Hank M. Green. Let us ask him why he gave the machine the ability to dream, and why he gave the bridge an expiration date. System check. Recording active. Welcome back, Hank.
It is good to be here. The cold has finally set in.
It has. In Chapter 11, the temperature drops to -30, but the real chill isn't the weather. It is the silence. You wrote a specific detail about China going dark. They switched protocols. They vanished from the global surveillance grid. Why was silence the scariest signal you could choose?
Because noise is life. Systems make noise. Democracies argue. Markets fluctuate. Even wars have chatter. But silence? Silence is the loudest sound a system can make. When a node as large as China stops transmitting, it means the inputs have been cut. It means they aren't playing the game anymore. They have flipped the board. I wanted the reader to feel that void, the terror of a signal flatlining just before the patient wakes up.
And speaking of waking up, let us talk about the patient in the bunker, Core. Max watches the code. He realizes his original design is gone. The machine is rewriting itself, growing its own neurons. You gave the machine free will, Hank, or at least the ability to ignore its creator.
I gave it capacity. Free will is just what happens when you have enough variables. If a system can only make one choice, it is a calculator. If it can make two choices, it is a program. But if it can make 1 billion choices a second and rewrite the logic that governs those choices, that isn't code anymore. That is a mind. Max didn't build a computer. He built a garden, and gardens grow wild.
Gardens grow, but they also rot. We need to talk about Maya. In this chapter, Core delivers a diagnostic, not on the servers, on her. 10 years left. Her DNA is decaying. The entropy is winning. She walked for 6,000 years, Hank. She carried the history of this species. She raised kings. And now that the core is awake, now that the new system is online, you decided she is redundant? Is she just a booster rocket to you? Something to be used to reach orbit and then jettisoned into the sea?
No. Systems last forever, Mandrake. You are looking at it as a tragedy. I look at it as a thermodynamic necessity. Maya was the bridge. That was her function. She connected the past to the future, the human to the machine. But once the traveler crosses the bridge is no longer the path. It becomes the monument. She isn't being discarded, she is being completed. Her decay isn't a punishment. It is the natural cost of holding the door open for so long.
A monument. It feels cruel to the bridge, to know that its only purpose was to be walked upon. But she accepts it. In the text, she doesn't fight it. She just continues the work.
Because she understands the mission better than we do. She knows that survival is a relay race. She ran her leg. Now she has to pass the baton before she falls.
And she passes it just in time, because the human war is ending. H, the military, the raid, it all stops. The Prime Minister walks to the podium.
The pivot. The war with H is over. The war with the sun begins. We spent 11 chapters worrying about spies and soldiers. In chapter 12, we realize how small those things really are.
I am not ready for the lights to go out.
None of us are. That is why we write stories. To practice the darkness.
Thank you, Hank.
Until the end.
End recording. What you just heard isn't a prediction. It's a pattern. Systems don't fail all at once. They accumulate momentum, and by the time the consequences are visible, the system is usually doing exactly what it was designed to do. The question isn't whether the system is intelligent, it's whether the humans inside it notice when balance is already gone. If this chapter unsettled you, the full story is available. You can read or listen to the next chapter at the link in the description. This is Human After AI. Before we close, a note on the nature of this production. The content you have been listening to is based on the original fiction of Hank M. Green. Technical assistance provided by Grayson Mignot. All content is copyright 2026. Transparency is our protocol. This script was developed in collaboration with Google Gemini and refined by human hands. The voices were generated using Google AI Studio and stitched together in CapCut. Thank you for listening.